Hey everyone, I'm Connor and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here on my channel, I like to talk about all things luxury, so if that's something you're into, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button and the bell button so you're notified when I bring out new videos. And if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the luxury pre-sale market and what it's doing at the moment, some trends that do arise, and how it is different for every kind of continent, every kind of country when it comes to the pre-loved market. As I do have a consignment store called Conrad's Closet, I've had it for nearly 6 years now, so I think I'm in a position where I can actually tell you the facts, okay? The facts. Yeah. Alright, let's get into it. Now, the pre-loved market obviously plays a huge, important role within the luxury community, okay? Now, whether you're looking to save money on buying something, whether you're hunting down a piece that you couldn't get in store because it was in such high demand and everyone was buying it, whether there was a collection that you were lusting after but you weren't in a financial position at the time to buy it, whatever the reason may be, whatever the fucking English word is, whatever the reason may be, I'm not filming anymore today. Whatever the reason may be, the pre-loved market is there. But every now and then I do see these videos on YouTube that make like sweeping gestures about the pre-loved market, whether it be like the bubbles bursting, whether it be this, whether it be that. And I think it's important to note that the pre-loved market is different in all countries, or all continents at least, especially when you're looking at Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, seasons, blah, blah, blah. So if you take the Southern Hemisphere, for example, Australia is probably like the largest Western country within the Southern Hemisphere. Then North America, Europe, the majority of the other population of the world, they're all in the Northern Hemisphere. But because we're in like different seasons, we're in different times, we're in different lifestyles, that all depicts the pre-loved market in those areas, okay? With that being said, currency plays a huge part in the pre-loved market. At the moment, the Australian dollar is shit, okay? It's worth jack shit. But people within the USA, people who have the euro as their currency, if they're looking to buy pre-loved items from Australia, they're going to be able to do it very, very, like, economically, okay? Because they're getting a lot more value from their currency when it's converted to Australian dollars. And don't underestimate Australia. We may be a small country, but due to our proximity to Asia, we have a lot of access to luxury goods. People either have dual residency, so they live in Singapore or Malaysia or China, and then they have houses in Australia, so they're going between the two, purchasing luxury goods and bringing them back here, or vice versa. Because of that, there is a huge drive for luxury in Australia, especially in Sydney and Melbourne. We have a lot more stock that is being sold because we know that we can buy an Hermes bag in Australia, listed in Australian dollars, and it's a lot more appetizing to people in the USA and Europe. So the currency really does play a significant part in what we can get. On the flip side of that, we won't buy stuff from America and we won't buy stuff from Europe because of how bad our currency is. Forgetting import taxes, forgetting everything like that, just the like for like value at the moment is not good. When I went to Paris, the retail for retail price difference was okay, but it could have been better if our dollar was stronger. So my Dior bag, for example, at the time, I think it was listed on the Australian website for $2,900. I can't remember what it was in euros, but if I were to convert the euro price to the Australian dollar price, it was about $200 difference. Generally, it should be about $500 or $400 difference. So when the currency isn't good for us, you guys reap the benefits, and it doesn't really work the other way because our currency is never good. Next, we look at the weather. So obviously in July in Australia, we are in winter, and then in the Northern Hemisphere, you guys are in summer. That plays a significant demand for certain bags, colors, and bag sizes because your needs are different at that time within the pre-loved market. So for example, in July, people generally are looking for darker color bags, more larger style bags, whereas in the Northern Hemisphere, people are looking for summer colors. They're looking for brighter colors, more lightweight bags, beach bags, that sort of thing. The next is the time of year and how it differentiates in other countries. I'll obviously use Australia as the example for the Southern Hemisphere because that's all I know, versus the kind of Northern Hemisphere. So for us, I have noticed in the pre-loved market where there are certain spikes. One of the spikes is always just after July because the 1st of July is tax time in Australia. So people are submitting their tax returns and then they're getting their tax refunds. So they've got more discretionary income to spend on luxury goods. There is always a spike towards the end of July, early August. Always happens without fail. Within the Northern Hemisphere, I don't know when America's tax time is. I always get conflicting information. I think it's like October or something, but I don't really know how your tax time works. I don't know if you get refunds like we do. I'm assuming you would, but who knows. But I've noticed in July or towards the end of July in Australia, it always peaks. The next peak is always just before Christmas, so the end of October, start of November. People are starting to plan holidays. They're wanting to get items for holidays and stuff like that, like bigger bags, beach bags, yada yada yada, because we're leading into summer and that's when people have school holidays because our summer break is in December, January, because that's when summer is, obviously. So people are traveling, taking advantage of summer, yada yada yada. In the Northern Hemisphere, you guys are going into winter, it's freezing cold, you're wanting more of the purposeful bags. Then in Australia, Christmas time, it's dead. People are not buying pre-loved or luxury goods from pre-loved places because they're out buying presents for people. Generally, pre-loved items, obviously they're giftable condition items and stuff like that, but people generally are buying them new from the store for gifts. But then, as soon as Christmas ends, start of January, it's back up again. People have gotten money from Christmas. People are some people get their bonuses in January. All these different factors come into play and people are like cha-ching, cha-ching, and I always do the best in January and, end of July, always. The next factor that dictates the pre-loved market is access to stock. Now you might be thinking, hey, if Chanel release a bag, all of the Chanels in the world get said bag, regardless of the quantities, but if it's in demand in one country, it's probably in demand in all the countries. You would be false. For example, the new Louis Vuitton mini bum bag that's just been released within the past few months, in Australia, that's sat available on our website. I'm not sure about access in stores, but on the Australian website, it's been in stock for donkeys ever since it's been released. However, people within Canada and the US, they cannot get their hands on this bag. It's always sold out. Their sales associates can't get it. I've had heaps of messages asking if I can source it because they know it's available on the Australian website. Like, what? How does that even happen, you're thinking? Well, it just depends on what we in Australia would be willing to pay, what our lifestyle wants from a bum bag, what the bag does for us, yada yada yada, versus in the Northern Hemisphere, the needs, the wants, the desires, they're totally different. So if you think about if I were to sell that bag on the pre-loved market for Australian customers, it wouldn't sell. I'd have to sell it below retail because if I sold it at retail, people would be like, well, I'll just buy it on the website brand new. Why would I buy it pre-loved? Whereas people in the US, they will pay a premium for that because they can't get it. And the only difference is people in Australia aren't buying it. So trends like that happen all of the time. There's always stock that we can access that they can't and vice versa. And the other kind of factor with that would be Louis Vuitton especially, or even Chanel too, they release certain colors for certain regions, like Asia Pacific, which is what Australia would fall into. Sometimes we get limited edition colors, sometimes we get just normal bags in a colorway that isn't available to people in America. We don't know why it happens, who knows, but it's just how the world works. China gets China exclusive items. I know they do it with Fendi, they definitely do it with Louis Vuitton, and it's all probably in the marketing. Marketing a product exclusive to one country makes us feel special, makes other countries feel special, so we buy into it because we're only human, right? But that demand then drives the pre-loved, want for it in a complete other country, and that's just how the luxury pre-loved market works, okay? So all in all, would I say that there is a luxury pre-loved bubble that is going to burst? Probably not. It's too different in each country. Too many factors affect the luxury pre-loved market. The weather, the seasons, the time of the year, people's access to discretionary income because of market trends within their own country, access to stock, you know, all of those things, and it would be impossible to give a general pre-loved market bubble to all of it because it's so different in each country. Yes, in your own country there may be a peak and there may be a decline for certain things, for certain bag styles, but overall it's totally different, and generally when it's working for one kind of side of the world, it's affecting the other negatively and vice versa. So it is very, very complex, and I guess there would never be an overall global pre-loved market economy because it just wouldn't work. It's just too different, okay guys? And I always see trends, I always see declines, I always see peaks, but generally when it's declining for us, it's working for the for the northern hemisphere and vice versa. They never really align. So that's just something to keep in mind, because when you watch YouTube, you're generally watching people within America talking about it, and it can kind of paint a incorrect depiction of what's actually going on. If you're in Australia and you're looking to sell stuff, sell it to the US, sell it to Europe, because you will probably break even or even make a profit. That's just what's happening at the moment, especially if your item is in demand. Like with any market, there's always going to be peaks and troughs, and eventually, if you sit on something long enough, it will always come back around. It's just how it works. Price increases happen from the luxury houses, which doesn't necessarily mean that your item goes up in value with the price increase. It does take time for it to kind of adjust, but eventually, if you wait long enough, you could sell your item. Given that you're selling it not through a consignor where you're going to lose a little commission, but all in all, that's just how it works. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm feeling very like a professor, like learn, learn, learn. And you know, I'm trying to educate you because I am a luxury martyr. Please let me know your thoughts and comments down below. I'd love it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all very shortly in my next video.